Good afternoon, everyone. And if you didn't recognize me, I had a small cameo in that last skit there. My name is Luigi Scaglione. I'm the Director of Sales here at Great Little Box Company, and we're proud to be a title sponsor for this great event. For those that couldn't tell from the ad, we sell all kinds of packaging from boxes to labels, and would love to help anyone here in the Pacific Northwest to achieve that end. My honor here to introduce the panel coming up, and that includes Matt Williamson, the Director of BC Government Relations for Global Public Relations, and Nicole Broussard for the Senior Director or Senior Consultant, for Global Public Affairs as well. Global Public Affairs is Canada's leading privately held strategic communications and government advocacy consultancy with offices across Canada. They represent the largest corporate sector of organizations in the country, touching on all facets of the national economy. They're a team of experienced consultants who work seamlessly across jurisdictions, guiding organizations through complex public policy changes, and draw on their expertise as senior leaders in government, media, private and nonprofit sectors to provide firsthand knowledge of Canada's unique public policy and administrative framework. We also have Rick Dalmazzi, the Executive Director of the Canadian Craft Brewers Association. And Rick is a seasoned business executive who's lived and worked across cities in Canada and the United States, and has served as CEO and President and Chief Operating Officer of many technology companies ranging in size from startup to publicly traded. In 2014, sorry, I don't want to date you there, Rick. In 2014, Rick entered the wonderful world of craft beer, becoming a partner and general manager at Sawdust City Brewing Company, located in Muskoka, Ontario. And during that time, he's also served as the treasurer of the Ontario Craft Brewers Association. Rick recently became the first executive director of the Canadian Craft Brewers Association. And so it's my pleasure and honor to hand this over to Rick. So on to you, Rick.
Hello, everyone. Thanks very much. Thanks for the intro, and thank you, Ken, for allowing me to address your community and your guild. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Canadian Craft Brewers Association and what we're doing on the advocacy side, as well as a couple of our other programs. So the CCBA was founded about 1.5 years ago, and it's a federation of provincial associations. So we work through the provincial associations, including the BC Craft Brewers Guild. Ken is on our board, as are the heads of all the other Canadian, provincial craft brewers associations. So we do three things. We try to do three things for all our brewery members. And let me remind you that if you are a member of the BC Craft Brewers Guild or any provincial association, then you're automatically a member of the CCBA, and you get access to all our resources and all our programs. First and foremost, we're an advocacy group, meaning and we work with a government relations firm in Ottawa. And it was important for us to establish ourselves there, because up until we kind of came on the scene, Beer Canada was the only voice of beer in Ottawa. And so we thought it was important to make sure that the politicians and the folks who run the departments in Ottawa understood the differences between the needs of the large brewers in Canada and the needs of the 1,100 craft breweries in Canada. So I spend a lot of my time working with our GR firm, talking to whoever we can get a meeting with in Ottawa, and we've been very successful in meeting with a number of MPs and a number of department heads, talking about Canadian craft beer, and just really telling the story of the fact that the beer is great, yes, but we're really a story of local economic development. And we're a story of building communities, And so that story seems to resonate with the government, especially this year. This is a very different year. Ordinarily, associations would be in Ottawa right now during this budget cycle, sort of banging the desk, asking for special funds for their association, for their industry. With this being the COVID year, this is going to be a different budget. This is going to be a COVID recovery budget. And the government is really not looking to do things for specific sectors. What they're really trying to do is they're trying to thread the needle and spend their funds, their investments, spend their COVID relief dollars on the businesses that really need it. And so the proposal that we've made to government this year is that if you take a look at our entire 1,100 base of 1,100 breweries out there, the ones who need the greatest help are the small to medium-sized craft breweries. So our proposal this year is focused on helping the smallest of our group. That's not to say that all, including the larger craft breweries, don't need help on the advocacy side, and specifically on the excise tax side. But the government is not inclined this year to take a look at proposals that will give back a lot of excise tax dollars and fix the excise tax issue for breweries right up to the size of the large breweries. So we've focused the government this year to say, look, take a look at the needs of the smallest companies in our industry out there. And so our proposal is to eliminate excise tax for everything from 0 to 10,000 hectoliters for all breweries. And that will help give aid to all breweries, but most of the funds will be directed to our small and medium-sized breweries who during this year need it the most. There are other proposals out there. Next year we'll go after excise reform in general, but this year that's our approach. And we'll see how it goes. So far it's resonating pretty well. It's a big ask because there are lots of issues associated with excise. There are, in Canada issues. There are also issues around being in line with the World Trade Organization, and there are certain balances that countries have to find. So we'll see how that goes. And but generally, we're there in Ottawa. We were during all of the COVID relief programs that were announced, making sure that they were proper and had the right sort of elements for our industry. Initially, they didn't come out exactly right, so we joined the voices of a lot of other small businesses in Canada to say, look, we need to make some changes to these relief programs, and that worked pretty well. We also spent some time with the CFIA. There was some traceability. We'll talk a little bit about the traceability requirements for breweries. But we stepped in and said, look, let's put that on pause for now. Our breweries are doing whatever they can to just sort of stay alive. So let's put those on pause. And so that was important, and we were able to get a pause on that. And so we also look at, from an advocacy point of view, we also spend time with the different departments to try to convince them to continue funding programs that they have, or to add to them. So an important one is with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. So they've made available funding for our sector through the program that used to be called Growing Forward 1 and Growing Forward 2, now called the Canadian Agricultural Partnership. And so there will be funds continue to be made available there that all craft breweries can take advantage of. So we also go after, that kind of funding to make sure the government continues to support us in that area. So that's one very important part of what we do in the CCBA. The second sort of piece is programs, member programs sort of help you with your business. You heard Ken talk earlier in his presentation, for those of you that saw it, that now is the time to work on our business. And it's one of the things we learned during COVID. We learned to look at our businesses and see, okay, what can we do? What can we do differently? What do we really need to continue to do? And what maybe can we do differently? So we're going to roll out those programs to help you look at your business more closely. And those include, we did a webinar on traceability. And if you want to hit our website and check out that webinar, you'll see it and the resources that you need to implement traceability for your brewery. Every one of us, every brewery in Canada is going to have to implement traceability. We don't know yet. The CFIA has said it will be coming soon. There will be actually a presentation by the CFIA during this conference. But if you go to our CCBA website, and if you're a member, you'll see everything you need there to be able to implement a very simple traceability solution for your brewery. You'll also see that we've started a kind of a long-term comprehensive program around inclusion and anti-discrimination, which we're going to be working with the provinces on and rolling out some resources to your breweries. It's going to be a long-term thing. You'll see something from us definitive by the end of this quarter. And let me also take this opportunity to say thank you to Ken and your guild out there. A portion of the fees that you paid to attend this conference will go to support that initiative. It's very important, and we really, really appreciate the support. And finally, we're working on an industry-wide industry benchmarking and reporting system called Gemini, which ultimately will pay real dividends in terms of having us all understand what's going on in our industry, allowing breweries to benchmark their ongoing performance against their own historic performance and against others in the industry in Canada. So that's sort of the second piece. And the third piece that I wanted to tell you about is we promote your beer. So we promote your beer in Canada, and we do a little bit of promoting your beer internationally. We're looking to find new opportunities to sell Canadian beer internationally. I think we're underrepresented internationally. So we're looking at that. But the most significant program that we have right now, which you'll be seeing more about in the next couple of months, is our Independent Craft Brewery Seal. So for those of you that don't know about it, it's a seal that we've developed. You may have seen it in the United States. Other countries have developed an Independent Craft Brewer Seal. And it's really a seal of authenticity. Right now, we've got just over 100 breweries in Canada who have licensed it. And if your brewery is a member of a provincial association, therefore a member of the CCBA, you can license the seal, and you will be able to show that mark on your can or bottle so that consumers will be able to tell that you are an authentic Canadian craft brewery, an independent craft brewery, and this beer was made by you, developed by you, sold by you locally. You're a member of your community. You use quality ingredients, and you believe in giving back to the community. That this seal really is not only about the beer, but it's about everything that we stand for in craft beer. It's about our story. It's about our culture. It's about what we believe our role in the community is. And we are going to, so as I said, we've got about 100 breweries that have licensed it and are now putting that on their cans and bottles. It's getting out into distribution. And we wanted to wait until we had a critical mass of the seals out in the market. And we're there now. So we're going to be launching the Independent Craft Seal to the public. And so that will start in the spring of this year, just in time for beer drinking season. And you're going to see us do it through social media, through traditional media. The idea is to now get the public to understand what the seal means so that they can go looking for it. It will build equity in that brand and in your brands. And hopefully that will motivate more breweries to put the seal on their products. actually, you know, make it really be kind of the insignia for what we believe in craft beer in Canada. We recently lowered the price, so it's very affordable to license the seal, and that money goes to the CCBA to help us do the things that we're doing. We don't charge member breweries a fee to join the CCBA. So this is an example of a small fee that breweries will pay to license the seal to allow us to do the things that we're doing. As I said, we'll use social media as well as traditional media. We'll do some cool contests. We'll get our Instagram going, and we'll have a contest highlighted by hashtag Show the Seal, where we'll encourage people to show their products with the seal on the products from their favorite breweries. So just one last reminder that if you are a member of your provincial association and you have not registered yet for our website, you can go to ccba-ambc.org/membership, and it is free for you to register, and you can get resources from the website there. You can download and license the seal. You can get the webinar on traceability to allow you to see what you need to do to implement traceability, and all the other resources that we make available will be available through our website. And so finally, if we can go to the next slide. I just always like to take the opportunity to thank our supplier and supporter partners for the funding that they provide to us. It's very important, especially at this early in the life of the CCBA. Seriously, the money that we get from you allows us to do the things that we're doing, allows us to grow. And I always take the opportunity to remind folks from the breweries that if you need to buy something, if you need services or products, look first to the companies that are helping us, supporting them. So that's it. I think we're going, and I'm now going to turn it over to Nicole Brassard and Matt Williamson from Global Public Affairs. Thanks very much for your attention.
Thanks, Rick. So yeah, I think we're going to take questions at the end. We'll try to leave plenty of time here. I'm going to go through a little bit of the provincial government relations approach, a bit of a look back of the past year, what a crazy year it's been, and the priorities going forward on the provincial side. And then my colleague Nicole will talk a little bit about the municipal side. And so, just a quick overview of what we do. So I'm based here in Victoria. And think of it as sort of an extra set of eyes and ears on the government and policy. It's obviously been particularly important this year with public health orders changing in some cases by the day. Lots to keep an eye on. Ken's been a tremendous advocate. We've worked with Ken now for a couple of years, but can honestly say that nothing could really prepare for what this past year has had in store. And as we all know, it's far from over. So, I'll just start a little bit with kind of going back to those early days of the pandemic. We sure saw how fast governments can move and align with each other when they really need to on the patios issue. So that was the kind of thing, having Nicole based in Vancouver there with a ton of connections in the municipal world. It gives us a bit of a view of discussions at all levels of government, and hopefully we can helpful to preempt certain things, problematic policies before they come down, but in cases where we need to try to fix things quickly, we try to do that as well. So, examples of that would be the preemptive amendment of the public health order, in particular the one that was going to require stand-up service. We were able to address that before it became an issue. Of course, you can't always do that. I would use the example of the New Year's Eve restrictions that were announced the day before. Were certainly problematic. In those cases, there was really not a lot we can do. And I would say, I would highlight that as a feature of this government. Generally, we've seen from this government, this provincial government, less inclination to interfere on public health orders. There's a lot of trust placed in Dr. Henry on those. You know, even in cases where we might hope that they would perhaps interfere politically, including that New Year's Eve decision, we haven't really seen that. But that said, we do have a good window into sort of the minister's office and sort of how some of those decisions were made. And for that example, I can say, you know, that was indeed a morning of decision that the minister and the public health office had that discussion morning of December 30th, and sort of that's how that decision was made. I want to just basically recognize and a shout out to all of the members of the Guild for really stepping up during the pandemic. What it's really meant is the health compliance and going above and beyond in a lot of cases, combined with regular communication with the public health office that we do through our office, has really helped ensure brewers remained open throughout. And then, as I mentioned, no orders that would really undermine the business model. Dr. Henry herself is familiar with the business model. She owns a winery in the Similkameen Valley. And so, you know, that's one side of it. Obviously, brewers are a little bit different, but not a whole lot different. So they need help. They're making it up as they go, just as you all in your businesses every day are forced to sort of make it up as you go. That's really been the approach, had to be the approach of all levels of government, including the province. And so, you know, they're building this plane while they're flying it. There are issues that come up from time to time, but you know, I think the goodwill that Ken has established with the Guilds, combined with some of the intel that we're able to provide, we try to be responsive. We want to be here for you. So if you have issues, please, you know, reach out to Ken, and we're happy to work on any of this stuff. I want to recognize the corporate citizenship of members stepping up on things like hand sanitizer. You know, early on, that was, you know, that's really good public relations. It's the right thing to do, but it's also good. You know, you call it PR, GR, public relations for good for good government relations. It was really nice to see brewers stepping up. A really, I think, an important issue that emerged throughout all the pandemic was the LDB audits. Lots of confusion. We worked over several months and through a lot of good work by Ken, again, able to secure very recently a suspension of that process and a second look at that. So that was a positive accomplishment. The wholesale pricing issue, we now have secured until March 31st, 2021. Of course, you know, if we look at ongoing work, sure would be nice to see that going forward. And I think there is a willingness from this government to really reconsider some of these things. If you go back to the patio issue again, maybe we don't need so much red tape on a lot of things now that they've seen how things can work. You know, I think it'll be part of the work ahead while we're still in this pandemic, but trying to make permanent some of the positive changes that have happened. And then just, you know, general good recognition from former Minister of Tourism, Minister Bear, on the BC campaign, the Premier himself giving shout outs on social media to BC Craft Brewers. And of course, the ongoing BTAP table and recommendations. Ken has been very involved for a number of years now. If there are specific questions on kind of where we're at on that, I'm going to have to defer to him kind of at the end. He's much closer to that stuff, being at that table than we are. So looking ahead on the provincial side, strictly, obviously we need to see that LBD audit issue through. We've, you know, amid all of this, of course, had a provincial election. They have reorganized themselves both at the ministerial level and lots of new caucus members, obviously, but also, you know, in terms of government reorganization that we've seen, in my view, I think is positive. I guess, you know, the proof will be in the pudding going forward. But, you know, I think a lot of that makes sense with LDB being, you know, in finance and LCRB with Solicitor General. A lot of the same characters, of course, that we're very familiar with: Doug Scott, Megan Harris, Erin McEwen, Mary Sue Maloney. You know, those are consistent relationships. Ken has Ken, shout out again, has really established an honest broker role with those folks, and been very responsive. We're going to hear later in the conference on Friday, I believe, from ADM, the new ADM in tourism, who actually moved over from finance. It's obviously a really important relationship, and looking forward to what he has to share around the tourism approach. I can say, I think as we're speaking right now, there is an announcement from Minister Ravi Kahlon of Jobs and Economic Development. Of course, now that's changed. The names are hard to keep up with sometimes, but the short form of that, the acronym for that one, we now call Jerry. So Minister Kahlon, along with one of your members, with Vancouver Island Brewing, announcing as part of BC's economic recovery plan, a grant program, I believe is focused on things like online marketing, and it sort of kind of gets into the next stage and part of the ongoing work and challenges going forward. One of them being the beer caucus, really good concept, works really good when it's when there is not a global pandemic raging. A little bit different approaches required in a post-pandemic world. So that's one of the things I would really love to hear from members on. Ideas, approaches, a lot of it has moved online, and I think it's going to be like that, well into 2022 for those kinds of government engagement approaches. But really, really interested in best practices from members and sharing some of that knowledge. So that's sort of one of the ongoing piece of work and challenges. Of course, there's the BC Ale Trail signage. Along the lines of what we see with the wine route. We had very positive early meetings almost a year ago to the day, right before sort of the pandemic hit. I was in the Office of Minister Bear with Ken, hearing very good things. We had made good inroads there. That said, COVID delayed a lot of things, but there's never been a better time for this push. With the tourism recovery funding that's now available, and so that's a priority for 2021 that we're pursuing right now, and hope to have some very good news to share on that very soon. And then, of course, the remaining BTAP recommendations remain a priority for 2021, including the third-party warehouse issue that has been temporarily resolved, but we don't love operating in gray areas. We'd love to have certainty. That's one of those areas where we'd be seeking certainty. And then, of course, the manufacturing license requirements generally, and issues around the contract brewing and blended rate model. That was another one that we were in the legislature just prior to the pandemic. And I believe we can make some good progress on in 2021 as well. So I've gone on too long. I'm gonna throw it to my colleague Nicole to talk a little bit about the municipal angle for the last year and look ahead. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Matt. Hi, everyone. And you know what, I'll actually kick it to Rick just to talk about beer caucus at a federal level too. I know that's something that we've been thinking about a little bit, so I didn't know if you had anything else to add on that.
On federal beer caucus, yeah, just quickly, we have had the formation of a craft beer caucus. So there had been a beer caucus, we now have a craft beer caucus. We've got members of all parties on the caucus. Actually, Alistair McGregor from the Vancouver Island NDP member is one of the chairs, and there's a couple of other members from BC who are on that. So they're going to support us going forward. That was a good sort of step for us in terms of our advocacy efforts.
Awesome. Thanks for that update, Rick. And Matt, I know you've got a little bit of intel. I know everyone's really nervous about Super Bowl and the rules that are coming down or might be changing from Dr. Bonnie Henry. I think they were set to change really on Monday, but it sounds like they've got meetings on Friday. So we might see an update on Friday. Matt, I don't know if you can share any intel you've got about Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah, I think our check-in yesterday, basically, Dr. Henry remains concerned about, the Family Day holiday and on the 15th and reading week thereafter. And so we're expecting an update. Just a reminder to folks, the current restrictions are in place till February 8th. And then, we were expecting on Friday to hear from government the extension of those, not expecting any major lifting of restrictions. However, there may be some things in the margins because they are going through them line by line. So there may be a few things, but most likely not expecting major changes to the restrictions, including the intra-provincial travel piece, which I know is would be really helpful to a lot of members if it was lifted. Not expecting that most likely until late February at the earliest.
Awesome, thanks, Matt. So really a lot of the heavy lifting here in BC is done at the provincial level, but I'll touch on a little of the municipal government relations that we've been doing. It's very piecemeal across the country. And so I know I've worked with a lot of you to kind of navigate through your own municipalities and some of the issues there. We deal a lot with the city of Vancouver, which is a source of a lot of frustration for people I know. But just to touch on some of the things that we've worked through specifically through COVID, it is the patio bylaw was the #1 thing for most people. I think everyone really came together, Ken and a number of other industry associations writing to mayors and ensuring that they knew how important this was to keep the doors open for a lot of breweries. So we're really glad to see that change. So as Matt was saying before, we would like to see, now that these are in place, them continue on. It's kind of hard for government to put in new and exciting things like this and then for them to claw them back at the end of the pandemic. So we'll be continuing that advocacy to kind of keep the doors open there. As we talked about before, those accelerated timelines for implementation of a lot of these, I know it wasn't as fast as we would have liked for a lot of these bylaws to go through, but much faster than we've ever seen ever before. And so there's still a willingness from staff to really pick up the pace on these, which I think is good. I think they're all, by all accounts, very exhausted from this COVID period and pushing all of this through. And I know they appreciate your support when they're doing these new changes. Over this, because of the advocacy that's been done, BC Craft Brewers, and particularly Ken, gets reached out to quite a bit from municipalities in order to kind of run things by them and just have those roundtable conversations about new rules. So that's been a really big positive thing. I don't think BC Craft Brewers have been at that position previously in their advocacy efforts. And so I think it's really good to be at the table now as we move forward past COVID, fingers crossed, to implement some additional rules and bylaws. So ongoing rules and challenges, special event area endorsements, the picnic area, ensuring that you can expand your space for service and increase your per person capacity restrictions. There's some alignment that's missing between the provinces and municipalities, and that's something that we're going to be working on throughout the next couple months, especially as we head into kind of the legislative period this spring, kind of fix some things that need fixing to ensure that your doors stay open. As Matt was saying, I think the government's really open to having that conversation and supporting small businesses. As you can see today, there's that announcement by Minister Kalon to directly support small businesses. So we'll be looking to work really closely together to kind of keep the municipalities on the right page and get things loosened up for you. Patio bylaws, as we mentioned, ending October 31st. So this is one that we'd like to see pushed past this. I think this is a bit of a team effort when it comes to advocacy here. Ken's got some great partners at ABLE and BCRFA that are helping push this. So we'll be continuing to kind of go through the motions and make sure that the doors stay open past this. The last thing, and I know this is a source of frustration for a lot of you, but the triple net leases. Government's been trying really hard to get this right, but they haven't quite done it. But they have been making efforts. So I guess late in 2019, probably been working on this issue for close to 2.5, 3 years now. Late in 2019, there was an intergovernmental working group with the municipalities where they pushed their thoughts on taxation and triple net leases or an air tax up to the provincial government. Unfortunately, when the government was putting together this new bill, it didn't quite get it right, and it didn't hit all of the things that municipalities were looking for and give them all the tools in the toolbox they needed in order to help you. So to create a different subclass or to remove that air tax, and you're not getting all of the costs passed down to you in those triple net leases. So this is a big part of what me and Matt will be working together on this year in the new legislative session. It's something that the BC Liberals have been kind of causing a little bit of noise about late last year. But we really see this as an NDP-led initiative. And now that we've got a new Minister of Municipal Affairs. This is directly in her mandate letter to get this done. So this is something we'll be working on over the next couple months, but really wanted to ensure that all of you knew that it's not just Vancouver focused, it's all BC focused. And so if you've got issues in the north or in the interior that you want us to look at with your municipality, or just want us to get eyes on maybe a letter you're sending to your local mayor or councillor, let us know. We find we call ourselves a bit of like sober second thought. That's maybe not a good good tagline to use for this at a beer caucus, but that's kind of what we do, is we take a second look at things to make sure you're not blowing up your relationship with your municipal government or provincial government when you're engaging in your own advocacy efforts. And I think that's really important to be that honest broker that Matt was talking about, as Ken's kind of positioned himself as. So that's kind of it for municipal government. Maybe we'll pass it back to the group if there's anything else we'd like to add, and then we'll head on to questions.
I should add, Nicole, that the other major piece that was moved during the pandemic, besides an election, was changes to the Lobbyist Act. And so I'm only mentioning this because I want folks to be aware of it if you're not already. Some of the activities that you may undertake if you're doing direct provincial government relations outside of Ken or the Guild could in some cases be, they've removed the threshold, I guess, is the simplest way to put it, for in-house lobbyists, i.e. anybody who goes to the government looking for a change in policy or anything else. So it does cover a lot more now, but the definition of lobbying has also been refined and captured. So our colleague, Kim Hackstead in the Vancouver office is our resident in-house expert and president of the Public Affairs Association in BC here. So if you have any questions on any of that stuff, we're also a resource on that. But by and large, if you're kind of checking in with Ken, we can help you through it. I will not get into the minutia of it, Ken, because I'm sure nobody wants to hear that.
It's fascinating stuff, that's for sure. It's too bad, because we could have a whole seminar on that. Man. You should play that at closing time when you want people to leave your bar.
Yeah, that's right.
The rules around lobbying. There was a couple of things I just wanted to address. Thank you, Rick, Nicole, and Matt. That's awesome. The shout outs aren't possible. These guys put me in the position to be to talk to government. So that again is a collaboration. We work really closely with Rick. He's done an amazing job. I can remember I know what Rick's going through because I went through it in 2013 when we started down this road. So it's a lot of hours and a lot of pulling on different levers. So he's doing a great job. He's really got down and focused on a couple of things that really will make a difference for us, I think, moving forward. So we're happy about that. There was a question directly about the patios. Part of the stuff, this is why I don't play poker. I'm not very good. I don't have a very good poker face, but a lot of the details when we are dealing with the government through the BTAP, and why you don't see necessarily a lot of information is I'm under a non-disclosure, and one of the board members is also under a non-disclosure. I'm not going to disclose what board member that is, because then you'll pester them. So there's a lot of things when it gets to details we can't really talk about. But in general terms, we realize the importance of, and I think the government does too, of the patios. That is, I'm of age that I remember Expo 86 and we couldn't drink on Sundays. And my thought is that we didn't all go crazy on a Sunday. We didn't drink any, well, maybe we drank a little bit more because it was an extra day, but we weren't losing our minds. It's much like patios. We don't act differently outside while drinking something in a controlled environment of a manufacturing license and or a bar or a restaurant. And the government has found that out. They also will appreciate that that has really been a silver bullet for a lot of the locations to stay afloat. Without that ability to expand that footprint, I don't know how we would have been doing. The restaurants, some of their reports is 70% loss if that wouldn't have occurred. That is really hung in. So the government recognizes that. We have solid relationships with the government. It is one of the #1 priorities that we talk about. The COVID responses, the things that we've seen from COVID, such as the ability to deliver liquor with your meal, kind of grown-up stuff. Let's do that. This seems to us in the industry to be a very low-hanging fruit, but there is obviously, we work in a world where there's addiction and we're a controlled substance, and we really have to respect that part of it. But we do it in a manner, we're adding to the culture when you can sit out front on us. Any other major city in the world, you can do this, and so it's been very it's been a good example for us to be able to show that. So I can guarantee you we are pushing on that. I can't guarantee you where that falls. I think that's something that will be done. I think they will keep, we've always been allowed to deliver online, so that will stay. Those sorts of COVID responses, I think, is the government sees that we're gonna, when we get out of the recovery is gonna have to include extra seats to generate extra income. I mean, the optimistic piece is that we're gonna go through a roaring 20s of our own when this all ends. And there's going to be lots of travel and lots of people coming out of their bubble and enjoying themselves. And we are gonna have to be able to support them and facilitate them. So that was kind of a very long-winded piece. Let me just try to look at a couple of other things that have been in the, and if there's anything, oh wait, I think I answered that one. The other is, the other thing I wanted to talk about was Super Bowl. And literally I just got something from Able, because actually the restaurant and the pub association sit and talk to Dr. Emerson, who is Dr. Henry's deputy minister. And it looks like they, as Matt said, there won't be any changes, but you have to understand this is, you have to look at the event, what constitutes an event. So I just literally got this. So what you should be, how you should be operating on Super Bowl Sunday. Do not actively promote Super Bowl Sunday or any promotion, contest, specials, draws that you may be holding on Sunday. Don't give away the t-shirt. Don't have a halftime pool score. Do not have any promotional sales or anything like that on Sunday that's deemed special or out of the ordinary. No 10-cent wings for Super Bowl. Don't do that. You can offer Super Bowl specials to take home delivery because you're not encouraging people to come. So that you can do. You can't do any giveaways, door prizes, raffles, or draws. You can't sell advance tickets, and you can't have a cover charge. So please be respectful of that. We know I've had discussions with inspectors, liquor inspectors who are very friendly with us, and they have told us they are working. They brought on extra inspectors. They are looking through social media right now to see if you're promoting a Super Bowl, which you're not allowed to do, and they will show up and they will fine you. You want to avoid that. Dr. Henry literally said you shouldn't go out with anyone outside your household to a restaurant. So it's pretty clear language. Let's just hope that's where she stays and we don't get a New Year's Eve surprise, but please be respectful of that. Let me just see and sorry, if anyone can jump in if I'm missing some stuff here.
There was a question if we could unpack the blended rate issue a little bit.
The blended rate issue?
Yeah, do you want me to just touch on that, Ken, around our meeting with Minister Eby going back a year ago? And
sure, and that will tweak my memory.
please just jump in if this is now dated a little bit, but I just kind of pulled up our notes from back then. So under the current rules, we basically, this was the message to the minister. Under the current rules, a brewer could install a small home brewery system producing 500 hectoliters per year, be approved for a manufacturing license with 1 or 2 employees, and contract out 14,900 hectoliters of volume to a shadow producer. This brewer would then pay the same markup rate of 40 cents per liter as a local craft brewer producing 8,000 hectoliters per year in-house with 25 employees and 1.75 million invested in equipment. We use that very specific but non-specific example to sort of illustrate that contract brewing is a valuable tool, provides flexibility, but there should be limits on its use to preserve, incentives for local investment and transparency for consumers. So, at a certain point, breweries with disproportionate contract volumes are not using contract brewing as a tool, maybe, but rather as a business model that prevents the kinds of job creation and investments that we know that the province is looking for. So that's sort of our angle with trying to appeal to the provincial government's better angels on this. So the proposal itself, and stop me, Ken, if this has kind of evolved, but it would be really around establishing some kind of a threshold around percentage of annual production would be subject to a markup based on
We've recommended that it be 20%. So it should be, we don't want to say you can't do any of it, but we want it not to be your business model. It is a way to scale up, absolutely, while you're getting so it's a vital tool for us. There was lots of, as you know, there was lots of controversy a few years ago. Are we trying to close the little guys and that? No, we view that as a tool to scale up, but it shouldn't be your business model. If you're doing significant enough volume, in bricks and mortar is what we want. That's what the government likes. That's what we like. We like bricks and mortar because that creates jobs that are going to be sustainable. And so that's where we're at on that. I hope that answers the question. There's another question on timelines on all applications. The government is also going through the LCRB. Mary Sue Maloney has worked very hard on kind of a modernization to the liquor policy. There's not a lot of work. There's not a lot of public talk about it because a lot of it is the policy stuff in the back end, but they are working very hard. She used the perfect word on the application process, which was triage. They are looking to triage the application process. There is no way it should take 9 months to get a patio. There's no way it should take 9 months to add a tank, these inspections. She realizes that. They've been working very diligently on it, and they're chipping away in the back end. COVID obviously paused that because of a lot of things, but they are very much on that. And there's announcements, I'm pretty sure, Matt, some updates coming shortly, but we're confident that they've heard our concerns there, and they are working towards that. I mean, when she said in a meeting, we need to triage that system, one of our suggestions was, listen, if I'm a brewery and I've been in the brewing business for 2, 3, 5, 10 years, and I'm adding something and I've had no infractions ever, give me the Nexus pass. Let me do what I'm going to do and get my work done. And when you can get an inspector to come sign off on it, that's good. We all know that you're not going to risk doing something like a fake wall or a false wall or do something different that's not against fire code, because they'll take your license and no one's going to do that. And that message has been heard by the LCRB. Rick, there's a question about breweries outside of, and where did it go? Oh, it was Adam's question. What if you're an indie craft brewer in a jurisdiction that doesn't have an association, Nunavut or Northwest Territories Brewing, or you're an indie brewery that does not want to be part of an association, i.e. Bellwoods, and I'm not sure about this, Bellwoods in Ontario, can you still use the craft seal? Oh, Rick, I think you're on mute.
Geez, you think I've been doing this long enough now that I know how to unmute. So I've been trying to answer the questions in the chat box for those of you that are interested, but in answer to the question, yes, I forgot to mention that it's members of all provincial associations and all craft breweries in Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. There's no provincial associations there. There's sort of a coalition of craft breweries that is being formed. Yeah, if you're a brewery in the territories, you automatically qualify. If you are not, if you're a brewery and you are not a member of your provincial association, shame on you. You should be. I mean, we do a lot of stuff for you, so I'll get off my soapbox. But the answer is, unfortunately, no. It's, we're sort of doing this together. It's sort of a joint cross Canada story that we're trying to tell here. So we really think it's important that we sort of all be in this together, and that includes all the associations.
And Mo Hanford asks, what is the real value of having the seal? Seems that there should be third-party verification that a brewery is worthy. And she also asks, or they also ask, is the requirements the same across? They are not, because our requirements are different than Ontario's and Quebec's in volumetrically, because it's much larger, but we are working towards actually kind of a number. The number might be, let's say 500,000 hex or something would be considered craft, because there's some players that are bigger, but in BC, that would be, no one's even close to that. So it depends on that. But at the end of the day, the provincial, if you're a member of the provincial body, you're allowed to use the seal. So that's the testing. Or if you, I don't think worthy is the right word, but to Rick's point, if you're not a member of the association, you're unable to get the seal unless there's some circumstance that would be out of that, which would be provinces who don't have associations. But we're represented in every province and every territory. So
yeah, just to add on to that, in terms of worthy, if you're talking about quality or whatever, every province defines its definition of worthy, and it's different in every province. Yeah, as Ken said, we go, the CCBA aligns with the provincial definition for qualifications in their associations.
I think that is it for questions. In case I missed anything, I don't think I did. If there isn't any more, we've got 3 minutes before we're going to take a 15-minute break. So if there is no more questions, again, I'd like to thank Rick very much, not only for his work that he's doing on many levels, that we're going to see the fruit of that labor more so now as we go along. Rick, we maybe moved over quite quickly the National Beer Caucus, but that is a really important piece. That is the voice of craft breweries in Canada speaking to directly to politicians on a Zoom. Rick, it was 30 or 35 people on it, I believe.
Yeah, it was 30 or so. Most of them were MPs, some of them were staff. It was across all parties.
And that's a direct.
And it ended up with they wrote a joint letter that they all signed to Finance Minister Freeland to support our asks around the excise tax request.
Absolutely. And Chloe is asking if people are interested in running for our board, when can they do that? We have to have an AGM by June 30th. We want it earlier. We want to kind of get it before beer season starts. And we will be laying out the parameters for that. Historically in our Society Act and how we're in our rules and definitions, it has been 2 breweries over 10,000. It's a 7-person board, as you know. It's 2 breweries over 10,000 hex, 2 breweries under 10,000 hex, and then three, the most popular 3 vote getters. And of course, everyone is open to run for it. It's determined by you. You vote, we just count the votes, and that's how the board comes together. It's a 2-year term. We'll be doing lots of these on Zoom, and hopefully one day at least we can jump into an in-person one. We're now at the point that we can actually cover some expenses. So I think in the past we've had some people who maybe haven't run because if they're outside or a rural area or in the Kootenays, maybe they don't want to commit to coming to Vancouver because it used to be in person. That has gone away now with Zoom. So that's exciting. So we're hoping to see great representation from around the province. We've always been the voice of the province. We're not the voice of Vancouver, Victoria. We're not the voice of big. We're not the voice of small. We're the voice of everyone. So really appreciate you taking the time to consider that. We will get you more information. And I wanted to just thank Nicole and Matt for also jumping on. I have a call basically every 2 weeks with them just to keep up. And if anything comes up, they are awesome about letting us know. They really do have their ear to the ground. One of the reasons global was our pick was Victoria and Vancouver, to Matt's point, boots on the street, but also they're across the country. So if you have issues with Ontario or you have issues in other provinces, they have connections with every person. They have a company office. I think it's 9 offices across Canada, if I'm not mistaken. So they're a great resource, and we should lean into them a bit more than we do. I think that is it. Nicole's got her information there. Thank you. If you've got any questions after, you can put them in the chat, put them on general, or direct them to me and I'll get them to the right people. We're going to take a 15-minute break. Wow, we are right on time. That never happens in my life. And we will be back with reputation management in time of COVID. We're going to move into kind of social media and tourism piece. So I think this is really cool. We've got three sessions. Jordan Foss from Steel and Oak is going to be moderating them. So please put your questions in as you have here, as you have all day, and Jordan will manage them for you. Okay, thanks so much. And thank you all, and have a great afternoon, panelists. Thank you.
Password.
Password? I'm just here for the beer.
Okay.
It's been a day. Can I get a craft beer, please? Hey, how do you showcase your seasonal beers? Amazing! How about labels? I can't get them to stick. All right, how do you stand out amongst 3,000 different breweries?